Hey, I have bad news. That portfolio of ML projects you've been working on is probably not going to get you hired. Let me tell you what will, but first let me tell you how I know. I've been in tech industry for about 14 years, including companies like Meta, Twitter, and Adobe. I've worked for US government and several startups. I've been involved in hundreds of hiring rounds and been the actual hiring manager who's extended real job offers to people based on the projects on their resume. Stop with the Titanic project. So in this video, you will learn what makes an ML project successful, how to actually build successful ML projects, and how to present your work in a way that gives you a fighting chance of being hired off of it. But first, let me tell you the only reason machine learning projects on your resume even matter and why most don't. Okay, let's say you're hiring, but not for an ML engineer. Let's say you're hiring for a sumo wrestler. And then I apply. Okay, so probably the fact that I have no balance and have no build for a sumo wrestler should have tipped you off that you're not going to hire me, right? With ML, it's a little bit harder. Your balance and your build matter a lot less to the job we do. But your resume speaks volumes. So just like you very quickly judged me and denied me the prestigious job of being a sumo wrestler, thank you, I, as a hiring manager, judge people based on their resume. You only have seconds to communicate those things to me. When I was at Adobe, I remember having a job where we had 500 applicants for one position. I had about 5 seconds per resume to figure out whether or not this is a candidate I'm going to move forward with. There are a few things that I look for to help me quickly weed through the resumes that I'm not going to spend any more time with. One of them is the pedigree. There's not much you can do about that. But the others are meaningful metrics that you've moved with machine learning. Did anybody actually want what you built, or did you build it for yourself? And do you overthink problems? Unfortunately, just writing, bro, I can totally do this job, doesn't work. Fortunately, your project can do a lot of the talking for you. It's just like YouTube. You're here because I can actually help you. But I had to catch your attention with a thumbnail and a title before you ever gave this video a chance, because you had so many options. And now that we're here, you can take this moment to just like and subscribe so you never miss a video from me again. Thank you. What makes a machine learning project actually impressive to the hiring manager is solving a real problem for real users in as simple a way as possible. If I'm looking at your resume as a hiring manager, the best case scenario is I see that you've built XYZ app and I use it all the time. When that happens, I almost guarantee you that you will get through to the next round. But if the hiring manager is not one of your users yet, having the project be publicly accessible and used by 50,000 people is a heck of a lot more impressive than having 20 different projects, all Titanic survival study, on your GitHub. Stop doing Titanic studies. Solve real problems that you have with ML, please. I'll explain how to avoid being too demo-y, understanding the entire ML project lifecycle, and parts of software engineering that you have to appreciate very much in order to do this right. If you haven't caught it yet, I said that you need to create a project that's used by real people in the real world. And the first thought that pops into my mind when I hear that is, I'm going to need to write UI. Probably need to learn Next.js or some other thing that's completely unrelated to machine learning. How do you overcome having to build that much stuff that doesn't relate to your primary objective? Well, you need to be creative. Are you making a tool for technical people? It's okay to use command line. Perhaps what you want to do is make a tool for a wide variety of people on many different devices. Well, there is email as an interface. You can write something that just takes a bunch of stuff in and gives a digest in an email and sends it off to every single user you have. If UI is inevitable, you can use generative AI or no-code, low-code tools in order to decrease the effort that you need to put in. Be creative. Best ML engineers are not stuck. They have 3 solutions for every problem. They can tell you the pros and cons of each, and they can decisively pick one and live with their choices, whether they're right or wrong. You can always change it later. In his book, Effective Data Science Infrastructure, Ville Tuulos talks about inherent complexity within machine learning systems. These are some of the most complicated software systems that humans have designed. Do not increase that with incidental complexity. Your job is to make things simple, not only on UI and in terms of your time, but also on the back end. See, I don't care that the algorithm you worked with is the latest and greatest. I care that you can take ML and put it in production. Pick a smaller model. The other consideration is if you want this tool to be used by as many people as possibly can, you're probably going to have to make it free. And if you make it free, then all the infrastructure cost is on your shoulders. That is really, really good because that will get you to be a lot more efficient with the resources you have. Try to squeeze everything to be able to run on free tier of one of the cloud providers. Constraints are good. Constraints is what makes engineering possible. When you start with a blank sheet of paper, the solution can be anywhere, and it's annoying. When you have one constraint, you have way fewer solutions to worry about. Add more and more constraints, and finally, the real solution emerges. Constraints are good, and money is a constraint that we deal with all the time. But it doesn't help you if you don't understand machine learning project lifecycle. This is a thing that professional MLEs often try to fight and always lose. No, your project is not different. These stages happen in every single ML project, and you need to be mindful of which stage you're in, because what you would do in them is very different. What you have with your project is essentially a relationship. So let's talk about it in terms of romance. First stage is courtship, falling in love. You look around, there are many potential romantic partners out there. You explore your possibilities and narrow down who you could possibly be with. In this stage, you're obsessed with your ideas. You're romanticizing them. You're thinking through what a great project this will be. Romanticism is good. You want to be excited about the project that you're working on. Because when things get difficult, you want to make sure that that connection is there. This is why I often recommend that you start with a problem that you yourself care about. Worst case scenario, there's one fewer problems in your life. In the next stage, though, you need to start narrowing the field. You cannot be with everybody. As you do, you need to understand more and more about the project ideas that you have, just like you would need to understand more about people that you date. I have a friend who dated somebody who spent a little bit of time in a penitentiary, and that person hated the color orange. Now, that's the kind of thing that you don't know from the outside. You need to have a lot of in-depth conversations and explorations in order to get there. Similarly with your project. There is no free lunch theorem that says that I cannot tell you ahead of time exactly what will work for your project. Spend some time and understand what color your project hates. Then comes scoping. Now you're getting ready to be married. You need to carefully assess your finances, your other considerations, and be very, very careful about making this next step. Now, I'll have a whole other video about scoping another time. It's out of scope for this one. But scoping is essential in order for you to succeed. This is where you define what success means. The next stage is data. Now that you are married, you need to reconcile your finances and all the forks that you both bring to the relationship and whatever else that you want. Understanding where data comes from is equally essential. Understanding how to encode it is equally essential. You need to do more than a surface level exploration of your data. You need to understand what categories to make sense to evaluate. And then the honeymoon starts. This is the modeling. Modeling is exciting. You get to try out many different approaches. And when you converge on one that starts working, you feel yourself as a real machine learning engineer. Unfortunately, people overemphasize this part over everything else. If you haven't done the work to get here, believe me, your project will not work as well as you think it should. Modeling is about trial and error, and you need to know how to recover from those errors quickly. You need to understand how to prototype things without spending all your compute budget in a single week. One of the resources that I really like for prototyping is Google Colab. It has a free tier that's quite generous that lets you use a powerful GPU in order to prototype a lot of different things. You might even be able to use it to train your final model. And then one day you find yourself with children running around. Now you have responsibilities. All the work you've done up till this point will help you through this. See, people underestimate the complexity of this stage. They do not understand just how hard it is to run an ML model in production. This is why I'm an advocate of simpler models, because complexities will emerge once you have users using your product. And the way that you make your life easier here is by making sure that you employ good software engineering practices. Test whatever you can test, Make sure that everything is committed to Git so you can go back through commits and understand where problems happen. Make sure you're logging the right things. So when a user reports a problem, you can go back to the exact instance of that problem that they're talking about. Make sure that you are collecting correct metrics. All of this sounds like boring stuff, but it's super essential in order to be able to run the project and not let the project run you once you have even 2 users who are not your dad. So what is success then? Well, it's whatever you define it to be. See, as a system designer, you actually have that power to say what is success. In the particular case that we're talking about here, success is you getting that interview. But in other cases, it may be to make money or learn something new and cool. Depending on what success is, the way you structure the project is going to be very different. For example, if you're trying to make money, making the product completely free and giving it away to everybody is usually a bad idea. I see ya. The point is that you need to pick one thing that you want the project to be successful in. Machine learning engineers pick one metric that we monitor very closely throughout the project lifecycle. Picking that metric is super important to your success in training the model. Picking the correct metric to your project success is the single most important thing you will do. And if that metric is getting a job or anything else, I want you to put a rubber band on your hand. And every time you think something like, oh, I can also use my project too, I want you to pull back on that rubber band and slap yourself in the face. Don't expand your scope. Okay, please don't actually slap yourself in the face. Biggest project killer, trying to do too much. Pick one goal and focus on it. So if your goal is a job, there are a couple of additional things you will need. Not only do you need to get the users, but you also need to measure their experience with the platform. So make sure to instrument your tool to be able to give the actual metrics on your resume. While you're at it, you'll probably be asked about this project in your interview as well. It's a good practice to keep a journal and make sure that you write down what was hard about it. How did you overcome it? How would you do it again? What would you do differently? Do that when you make strategic decisions, not after the fact. And then you might want to compile it into a blog post to make it easier for the employer to find you in the first place. Make sure you have a good elevator pitch for it too, so that when you're asked about it, you can quickly explain the problem that it solves. And if you have a successful project here, machine learning engineers get subjected to a lot of different interviews. If you want to learn about them, check out this video next.